All right, so we are looking at benchmark geometric reasoning 1.2. They're going to be identifying drawing quadrilaterals. So, let's look to see where they were on our spreadsheet with and that benchmark. Let's see how students did.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because there may be stuff that they already know. Because I do like that this group does remember a lot from second grade.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely do. So there may be some stuff that, you know.
Okay, so they haven't seen it at all this year. And so we're looking at, so they are below
with
50.
athletics, but not,
Oh, yeah, they
but not
definitely see
full instruction on it.
it. Right.
Quadrilaterals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they've been, my class, because my class is a tad bit farther than hers, because she was out last week.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is familiar with what a quadrilateral is.
Okay.
They're not familiar with the different types, but they know that a quadrilateral has 4 side frames.
All right. So with this benchmark, they should be able to, the purpose of the benchmark is to provide opportunities for students to apply their formalized definitions of geometric attributes when identifying and drawing quadrilaterals. So we could take some examples from the Big M, and you can start your lesson with that to see how familiar they are with, you know, where they actually need to be
Yes.
at the end, you know, when you're completely done with teaching that benchmark. So we've already looked at, you know, the benchmark clarifications, the vocabulary. So let's just talk strictly about the instructional strategies that we're going to use and what we can use to get this benchmark covered. And I know it's not going to be covered in one day, but
Right.
so is there any cooperative grouping that you could think for engagement? Like what kind of engagement strategies do y'all think y'all gonna use when looking at that lesson?
I've been doing like answering questions by the group instead of by the individual.
Okay.
And I'm walking around to hear actual conversation about the question.
Okay.
And so, and they want me to hear it because when I'm done, I pick which group I heard explaining it. Not necessarily the best, but just explaining it for each member to understand. And so then when I'm done, I call on that group to explain that particular question to the entire class.
Okay.
And I'm just making sure that each group gets an opportunity, even though I'm doing it in a certain order based on how I hear them explaining it.
Okay. Cool. So, and I think I was thinking about one collaborative strategy, structuring or collaborative learning activity that y'all could do. You can do a graphic organizer, and that graphic organizer can, if you look, even in the Big M, they have one where you can either label them quadrilaterals or non-quadrilaterals, the different shapes.
I forgot about that one. We did talk about that one, yeah.
Yeah, or the one with like, you know, you can have them sort for equal size. Is that? Oh, I thought you. I thought somebody called you.
I'm finding the graphic organizer in the Big M.
Oh, it's on page 93.
All right.
Probably over there, cause it's in the end part.
It's okay. I'll
You
pull
should-
it up on the
Yeah,
computer.
cause this one, you see, it's just like quadrilaterals,
Quadrilaterals, non-quadrilaterals.
and then these right here is 4 equal sides, perpendicular
Yes.
side, right angles, parallel sides,
Mhm.
and quadrilaterals that do not contain any of the given attributes. And so,
And I actually have an activity very similar to that, but it's a game. And so it's almost like the shapes have faces on them, and they're saying, like, that's me, but you have to determine if that's really them just by naming the attributes.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then the kids could actually like agree or disagree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good, that definitely would be a good strategy. And you gotta think about those misconceptions and errors, because they'll confuse some pairs of intersecting lines as like perpendicular lines.
lines,
Instead of like, intersecting lines. And that's one thing that they'll see too in 4th grade is the intersecting lines. And they still even were confused in 4th grade, like what an intersecting line was or what a perpendicular line. So you definitely, even now, just really stressing that a perpendicular line has 4 right angles at the center.
So another thing that we did when they kind of saw it a little bit with athletics, we told them to use their hands. So they know when they do perpendicular, they make it like an X. I mean, when they do intersecting, they make it like an X, but then when they change it to perpendicular, they move it to a T.
Yeah.
So it looks like 4 right angles.
And it was crazy 'cause I used to do intersecting lines with Wakanda.
Oh, I like that. So we could probably start calling it Wakanda, and it'll be easier for them to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I did that too with, I know this off the top of fractions with cross multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little Wakanda too. So
Oh,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But we don't multiply fractions in 3rd grade.
Nope.
But if they get time
It's
in
coming.
the end to,
Yeah.
to get a sneak peek into 4th grade, then we can do that.
And any type of real world examples that have like the points, the lines, even them like at the beginning, like look around the room, like show me a line segment, or what do you think intersecting lines are, or perpendicular, because like perpendicular is like the door, the corners of the door.
We actually did that already with.
Turner?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. We need Michael Jerry with all his belongings to come to the front. He's going home.
He's in special area.
We did that with.
I'm gonna call
Tell him
him.
what his special area is.
Well, he's not even in my class. He's in Atkins class, so I don't know. I think that they are in music, or I think that they are in
It's either music or STEM.
In music?
He's in STEM.
Where?
STEM.
No, it might be music because I can't remember if my class.
Cause they're a day before me.
Right. Okay.
Oh
But yeah, we did that with lines and line segments, and it really it was successful. And I was nervous because they had not seen line segments before, so nervous about them being able to determine what a real world example was. But of course, once one kid said it and got it right, then the other kids automatically started to know.
yeah.
Like, oh, the side of the door is a line segment. The edge of your carpet
look around.
is a line segment.
Uh-huh.
The hardest one was Ray, because most of the real world examples that where there's an end point and the other end keeps going is like flashlight.
One-way stop sign. I mean, the
sunlight.
one-way sign on the street.
Oh, they didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
And you say you use the hands.
You
on
could
the-
have said the fire
Yeah.
alarm. That little sign right there.
Oh yeah. Oh, so the activity that we did today told them that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't one that they came up with on their own though.
Okay. So what do y'all see? I guess let's see how what questions can you ask them to facilitate learning? Like I know that Go Math ask them questions, Ready ask them questions, but how can we dig a little bit deeper and question them a little bit more to make sure that they're understanding what line segment, I mean, sorry, not line segment, quadrilaterals
Yeah, we're moving
are.
into quadrilaterals.
Yeah.
I think we can more so have them explaining. I'm gonna give you some actual questions in a minute, but
Okay, no, go ahead.
just to have them explaining to us, what the different quadrilaterals look like, as opposed to us telling them. For example, we did an activity today where I said I didn't say it was a shape. I said, draw me something that has 3 line segments, and 2 of the line segments are the same. 2 of the line segments are the same length. and 2 of the kids figured out that I was thinking about a triangle.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, so tell me about this triangle. Then of course somebody said it has 3 line segments. Okay, tell me something I don't know. And Matthew said
Something.
it has one, because we haven't gotten into the vocabulary for angles yet. So he said it has one square angle, one angle that's a square. Is it, how do they say it? They're not saying right angle, they're not saying 90 degrees.
Square corner.
Yeah, he said it has one square corner.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I think it's not necessarily a question, but just having them to describe to us, so that we know whether or not they understand
What it looks like.
the different attributes of each.
Yeah, the attributes of
Quadrilateral.
Quadrilateral. Okay. I also think one thing that they don't ever think about is a square a rectangle, or
Yes.
is a rectangle a square? Like I
Yeah.
feel like they need to.
That's the hardest part, to kind of like have them know that there is a difference between the two.
And we touched on it, but I knew that once we got into the chapter, it was gonna give them more details. So we didn't really like go hard into it, but we definitely let them know that, you know, a
A
square
rhombus
is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look at too, like, I guess the activity that you all will do with them. How do you feel like it's going to support their understanding?
It's gonna be the same where it's the particular activity where the different quadrilaterals are saying that's me. You know, I think they have fun in saying like, no, that's not you, like being right, kind of.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna help them to be able to identify the specific attributes of each
And the
quadrilateral.
differences too, yeah, like
Yeah,
the differences.
the differences and
It
similarities.
sounds like a good collaborative activity.
And what do y'all think? Do y'all think that, like, what struggles do you think that they'll have? Besides the one, of course, in the big M, you know your students, so you know what they are coming with and what they're going to probably have the most difficulty with. Like, will it be like the naming of the angles, like, or the quadrilaterals? Because you know they quadrilateral QRST. You know they have them naming angles quadrilaterals sometimes.
Struggle.
Or do you think it's a particular type of question, like that they will have like a struggle with, like which of the following has 2 parallel lines, which one has 1 perpendicular line, like being able to determine that? Do you think that?
I think initially they're going to struggle with the fact that they are looking at these lines on shapes. Because when we taught them this is what 2 parallel lines look like, this is what, you know, intersecting lines look like. So now they have to identify these in shapes. So I think in the beginning they'll struggle with that, but you know, we can get them through that, definitely.
Yeah, I think that initially I think that they'll struggle with more so memory, like remembering that all the different attributes of the different quadrilaterals. But that's kind of where, you know, the repetition will come in.
The spiraling.
And
Yeah.
spiraling.
I was
But
literally
initially,
thinking
I
that.
think that that's gonna be a struggle for them.
Yeah.
So how are y'all gonna, like, what do you think would be a good way to help them with that struggle of like looking at them as shapes?
So one thing that I've started doing is keeping the board up. When I take notes on what they're doing, I keep it up, and I remind them, you know, because it's not a test, so I'm reminding them that it's up there so that they can get in the habit of looking at it and hopefully
Retaining
sticks.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
then
can put up anchor
I was
charts.
just gonna say we do
Y'all
anchor
always
charts for
have anchor
everything.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have an anchor chart.
For
Okay.
me, something that I've been using a lot more is their interactive notebooks and putting things in there for them to have access to. So, and I let them know, you know, like if you ever forget where you need to go, my journal. So I've been working on getting better with that and having that updated for them.
Okay. And so, and as far as like making sure that this benchmark is getting hit in its entirety, to hit this one in its entirety, we gotta make sure that we have to, specify, we gotta know that GoMap doesn't specify parallelograms. It is, they have to know it, because that's a part of the benchmark and it's a part of the vocabulary, but GoMap doesn't address it. So make sure that we are addressing the parallelograms.
Okay.
And incorporate that into your instruction. So when, basically at the beginning of your instruction, you'll be doing accoletics. After that, we're going to instruction with what we just talked about, and then we'll be doing centers.
Centers, yes.
Centers at the end.
And
Sounds good.
probably that one activity.
Oh, the
where they're
activity,
identified.
yeah.
But that's
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
be one
the-
of the centers. I just
Okay.
assumed.
And reliability.
You talking about the It's Me? That's the center?
Yeah, can we do that as one of the centers?
Okay.
I mean, what do you think?
Well, I thought it was a whole group, but
I mean, I guess we can introduce it whole group so that they understand it, and then have them be able to kind of discuss with each other.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we can go back and you know,
Figure that out, yeah.
adjust if we need to.
And so we can supplement this with lesson 21 and ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, unit 4.
And I was
that's
gonna
the drawing quadrilaterals.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's fine.
But I was gonna say that when you were talking about the parallelograms, because if we can supplement it with ready, they definitely go into the
They
parallel.
definitely go into, I know GoMap just scratches the surface, like y'all said.
Right.
And already dives deep into it, and
Yeah.
you can actually assign these lessons before you even get into it to kind of expose them to it.
Right.
And so they have some kind of understanding going into instruction that day.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Just being that they were that was one of the benchmarks on that spreadsheet that I created, that they were lower in. But I
Right.
think once they get into it, they're gonna get it,
Right.
because this geometry is not
And I was-
really hard.
Yeah,
like
I was
that.
gonna say, in all honesty, other than the little bit that they saw it within athletics, they had not seen it at all. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't surprised that they were not as high in that area as other areas.
Mhm.
But I think it's definitely gonna, you'll see a difference on the next test.
Yeah, and I'm sure that because it's always fun. You can make geometry so much fun. So they'll be seeing, they saw it previously a little bit in 2nd grade. They'll see it more again in 4th. So this is
Oh.
a spiraling standard
Yes. and
benchmark, or is a
one of the things that we've been focused on, in contrast to 2nd grade, is geometric vocabulary. Like, don't tell me that the shape has 4 sides. Like, what are those sides called? When you see those sides, what are they called?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, it's 4 line segments. Oh, it's
that's
you know,
that's really good.
it
Jeez,
has
that's
4
good.
angles.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah,
So
you
that
can
makes it
tell
a
me.
what?
Right. Yeah. I'm like, you can tell me corners,
Yeah.
but then I need you to tell me the geometric vocabulary. for it.
Right. Yeah. And then that too puts other people aware, like that didn't know, like, oh, they're not called corners. They
Right.
called,
Right.
okay, yeah.
Right. Or if I'm thinking corners, I better say
Right.
Right.
angles.
Yeah. So, I think that instruction is gonna be great.
agree.
Yep. So we got what we need to supplement with, and we've went over what models and visuals you'll use in a collaborative learning. The only thing we need to look at now is how to incorporate some hot questions into instruction next week. So we'll get together before then and see if we can just at least incorporate maybe two higher order thinking questions with quadrilaterals.
Okay.
And more than likely that can be more of an explain or draw type hot question. And that can also be a collaborative thing. I think that'll be fun to be we're gonna have to
Excuse me.
think about that. So yeah, we'll get together again before then, and we will definitely see if we can come up with some hot questions.
Some hot questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Find some hot questions. I'm trying to think. Now I do like that. Give a real world example. I think that definitely makes them think.
Oh yeah, and then on your benchmark reviews, y'all could throw those in too on a PowerPoint if you feel like they're ready for it. Because usually the benchmark reviews, you just want them to do it. They show it real quick and then it's over. You know, it's not necessarily explaining, but I really feel like they can, like, if you do like 1 quadrilateral a day for the
They should
benchmark
get it.
review, then they can definitely get it. But just because, you know, they're not like they didn't show proficiency in it, they hadn't learned it.
Yeah.
So we'll get that covered. Alrighty.
All right. Well, thank you, ma'am.